All right, so you're trying out intermittent fasting, or maybe you're doing a prolonged fast for a little bit more of an extended time period. The fact is, you might be a little bit confused as to what's going to actually break your fast and what is not going to break your fast, particularly in the world of liquids. You see, liquids are kind of ambiguous with fasting because we automatically assume that because it's liquid, it's not food. So therefore, because it's not food, we have a hard time fathoming what's going to actually break our fast or not. So I wanted to clear it up. So many people ask questions, and if we actually just put it in a simple yes or no checkbox, it'll help you out, and it'll help you get through your fasting period in a more effective way. But you'll still also know the things that you can implement to help you get through the day, so fasting isn't quite so difficult. So literally, as we go through, I'm going to give it either a green check mark or a red X, and I'm going to help you know what's going to work for you. All right, so first and foremost, let's talk about black coffee for 1 second. Is black coffee going to break your fast? Well, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? It is fasting safe, okay? Black coffee is fasting safe, and it's fasting safe simply because the polyphenols that are in coffee actually support autophagy, okay? Meaning it actually expedites the cell recycling and sort of the rejuvenation process of fasting to begin with. So although there's technically 3-ish or 4-ish calories in a cup of black coffee, you're technically okay simply because you're still getting the added benefit. So black coffee is totally good to go, okay? Now I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm not going to necessarily go straight on down the line, but while we're talking about coffee, let's talk about creamers for 1 second. Creamers will still break a fast, okay? So creamers are a no-go. We have to keep creamers out of the equation, unfortunately. This means almond milk, this means half and half, things like that, which we'll get to a few of those as we go down the line. But that is going to be the problem, and that's where the confusion sets in. If you're going to have coffee, it needs to just be black. You can add some stevia to it, but do not add any sugar, do not add anything that has a caloric value, okay? So for the most part, creamers are a no-go, sugars are a no-go. Okay. Well, let's talk about bulletproof coffee for a second. This is a big one, okay? So drum roll, what's it gonna be, all right? Because here's where people really get confused, and this is a question that comes up so often. So bulletproof coffee, is it fasting safe? And it is not fasting safe, okay? So similar to how we talked about the creamers, bulletproof coffee is just this confusing aura in the fasting community. And the reason is because so many people have touted bulletproof coffee as something that will help your fast. They're like, oh, it's got MCTs, it's got coconut oil, it's got ghee in there, it's going to help you burn more fat. No, huge correction, you need to know this. Bulletproof coffee is phenomenal if you're on a keto diet, okay? But bulletproof coffee does not lend itself to fasting. You know how many calories are in a cup of bulletproof coffee? We're talking like 300, sometimes 400 calories, okay? That's a lot of calories. That by no way is fasting safe, unless you are doing some form of a liquid fast, which we can talk about at a different time. I've done videos on that too, okay? Well, let's jump down really quick and let's look at black tea and green tea for a second, okay? Because black tea and green tea are interesting because they have leaves in them, right? So people think, well, I'm eating leaves. Well, no, you're eating water that's from the leaves. You're not really eating the leaves. So people always wonder if tea that is black or green is actually going to break a fast. They think that black tea and green tea would break a fast more so than black coffee. Not the case at all. In fact, there's less calories in tea than there are in coffee, and you're still getting the benefit. Now, when it comes down to black tea and green tea, you are good to go. So yes on black, and yes on green. Now we got to move on forward a little bit more. Okay, lemon juice and lime juice. How do you sit with lemon juice and lime juice? Okay, so some will tell you that that is going to break a fast because again, it's a fruit. It's going to have an effect on your body. Again, when it comes down to lemon juice, they are good to go, both lemon and lime juice. The reason is because they promote the gastric emptying effect, okay? So they actually allow your digestive system to sort of evacuate its contents, okay? It increases that motility, which is actually gonna expedite your fasting. So there's things in the fasting world that we have to look at. Is it directly stopping your fast, or even if it has a small amount of calories, is it expediting the fast's results? And in this case, net, we're coming out ahead because the lemon juice, the lime juice that you put in a little bit of water is going to get your gastric system to empty faster, which means you're going to get into that deep fasted state a lot faster, that deep autophagy state, that deep gut healing state much faster. So I would actually consider it an advantage. Okay, now we have to move up a little bit. I'm going to jump to broth all of a sudden. Okay, broth is an interesting one. I am a huge proponent of bone broth, and this is where people might get confused when they watch my videos because I'm talking about bone broth, the benefits of bone broth, particularly on a keto diet. But the reason that I talk about bone broth is because it's phenomenal when you break a fast, not during a fast, unless you're doing a specific bone broth fast, which I do all the time. But that's a whole different story, whole different set of criteria. Okay? So bone broth or broth in general has calories and it's a food. You want to use it to break your fast, but don't treat it as a fasting-friendly liquid because it has calories. It has collagen, which is a protein, which has a pretty good metabolic effect on the body. Okay? So it's very good when you break your fast because it helps heal your gut lining, but you don't want it during your fast. So unfortunately, broth is a no-go during the fast, okay? All right, now let's talk about diet soda for a second. Diet soda, another interesting one. Be careful with sucralose. Okay, most diet sodas have aspartame or sucralose. Some have stevia. Sucralose, which is Splenda, is very interesting. It does elicit an insulin response, okay? It does trigger a spike in insulin, which could very well break your fast. Additionally, the packets of Splenda have maltodextrin in it. The maltodextrin is going to cause an insulin spike more so than the Splenda is. So diet soda is a gray area, but if you go with one that's sweetened with stevia, monk fruit, and unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, aspartame, you're probably fine. See, aspartame technically doesn't elicit an insulin response. As much as I hate the stuff, I'm also being honest with you guys. You're probably okay if you have like a Diet Coke or something. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a green check mark, but I'm not happy about it. All right, apple cider vinegar, here's the big one. People ask about this one all the time. What's it going to be? With apple cider vinegar, I hate to say it, but you are good to go. Okay, again, we come down to the game of, is it pushing you further along into your fast or is it holding you back? Net positive or net negative effect? Net positive effect all the way. Obviously, the digestive benefit, the acetic acid does all kinds of things when it comes down to the gut microbiota, enhancing, exacerbating the positive effects of your intermittent fasting lifestyle. So all the way, I usually like to start my day with that kind of stuff. So that's perfect when it comes down to the ACV. All right, now let's move on over to the other side here. Almond milk I already touched on, so I don't need to spend a whole lot of time here, but almond milk, unfortunately, is not good to go. So that gets a big red X, okay? Significant amount of calories, relatively speaking. You know, you put that in your coffee, you're looking at 20, 25 calories. We just don't want to go there. And just a word to the wise, when you do have almond milk, be careful of like carrageenan. And also note that almond milk, when you break your fast, can be rough on your system simply because it still has the phytates in it. I'm not anti-almonds, I'm not anti-almond milk. I just say that you want to use a little bit of caution because the phytates are designed to not digest. So when you first break your fast and you have almond milk, well, it can be a little bit hard on your gut. You might notice if you're paying close attention to your body, you get bloated, you get distended. So wait a little bit, have some food in your system before you do that. All right, let's move on to BCAAs for a second. All right, I've talked about BCAAs before. Branched chain amino acids. If you're someone that's into working out, if you're someone that's training a lot, you're very familiar with branched chain amino acids, heavily marketed by the supplement industry to keep your gains, to keep your muscle, all this stuff. Okay, yada, yada. The thing is BCAAs don't do all that much in terms of helping you out. They're only going to do a whole lot if you're in a heavy period of muscle gain and when you're already in a caloric surplus anyway. So by and large, when you are in a caloric deficit, like when you're fasting, they're not going to do a whole lot for you anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it. But I will say, for the sake of this video, they actually are not fasting safe. Okay? Let me give you a little context here, and I have to go scientific on you for 1 second. Branched chain amino acids contain something known as leucine. Okay, the 3 branched chain amino acids, okay, we have leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Leucine is the main culprit here. What's interesting is when you are fasting or when you're doing ketosis, you are going into what is called gluconeogenesis all the time. Okay, it's where your body takes protein and converts it to sugar. Sugar is not bad when it's created in the body, right? Carbs are turned into glucose, protein is turned into glucose. When you're doing keto or when you're fasting, your blood sugar is never going to zero. Okay, your blood sugar will be stable, but your blood sugar is never going to be zero. You always have blood sugar, so whether you're eating or not eating, your body is going to get glucose or sugar from something. Now, when it comes down to protein, it's a process called gluconeogenesis, and the building blocks of protein are amino acids. So people would really quickly think that, okay, well, amino acids are just going to help protein levels, they're going to help me out in preserving muscle. Okay, well, BCAAs are unique because amino acids will contribute to gluconeogenesis, meaning they'll contribute to blood sugar, they'll contribute to that process. But leucine in BCAAs is different. It does not contribute to gluconeogenesis. However, it does spike your insulin. Leucine is one of the only amino acids that will spike your insulin, but it also doesn't contribute to gluconeogenesis, which means it's not going into the body and getting used as a fuel. It's literally just floating around through the bloodstream, triggering insulin, messing up your fast. So although there's not a lot of concrete evidence or research, because why the heck would any university even want to spend money researching that? Because it's not that exciting. It's all just internet people that are just thinking they need BCAAs, when in reality, in real life, guys, we don't need it. So I'm not surprised that I haven't seen any scholarly articles come out on that, but we just have to connect the dots. So sorry to rant. Moving on, pre-workouts. It kind of falls in the same category. A lot of pre-workouts have BCAAs in there, so that's your first criteria. Look at your pre-workout. If it has branched-chain amino acids in it, scrap it. Okay. The other things we have to consider are sometimes they have carbs in them. Sometimes they have little bits of maltodextrin. Those are the things you want to watch out for. The powders, the fillers, the emulsifiers. Those things have calories. We don't want to have those. And I'm going to also loop in exogenous ketones with this. Exogenous ketones will break a fast, ladies and gentlemen. They will break a fast. I'm going to actually add that in there. So in fact, exogenous, my poor writing here, exogenous ketones. Okay. Not fasting safe. Do not consume, okay? XX. They will go to the front of the line when it comes down to metabolism, okay? If you take in exogenous ketones, even when you're not eating, you now just gave your body a fuel source to use prior to using whatever you have stored in your body, okay? So not to digress too much, but pre-workouts, the only ones you're going to really want to be paying attention to are ones that are clean and safe and only have like beta-alanine, maybe some citrulline malate, things like that. That's all good to go. So I'm actually going to have to go ahead and I'm going to check both boxes here because it all depends on the brand, okay? But definitely no exogenous ketones. Energy drinks, they fall into the same category. A lot of energy drinks these days have BCAAs in them, okay? It all depends on the sweetener. Sucralose is pretty common, so technically that can break a fast, so be careful with that. Aspartame or aspartame, however you want to say it, depending what part of the country you're in. Again, gray area. There's some out there that are okay, but honestly, just drink black coffee. Just black coffee with stevia, you're just better off. So let's just go ahead and just say, forget it. Like, why put that in your body? Minerals and electrolytes. Okay, this does not mean sports drinks. This does not mean Gatorade G2. This does not mean that. I'm talking about like little packets that you can get that have minerals, electrolytes. You're good to go. In fact, I would highly recommend that. That's one of those things where, sure, if you wanted to get technical about it, you're consuming something. But on the other side of the coin, we're using things like this to our advantage to further along our fasting experience. So sodium, magnesium, potassium, all those are going to put your nervous system in an optimal state to really get the most out of your fast. So I'm okay with that. Spices and oils. The reason I put this is because people ask a lot of questions like, can I add ginger to my tea? Can I add cayenne to my ACV drink? All that. Spices, yes, you're good to go. I'm cool with that. Okay, oils, no, don't add any oils. People want to add like peppermint oil and things like that to their coffee. Nah, you're talking calories there, so avoid that. So I have to give it a 2 here. And salt kind of ropes into the minerals, but the reason I gave salt its own little list here is because salt is super important. Add salt. Even that Jason Fung fasting tea, which, by the way, guys, if you haven't forgotten already, you've got to make sure that you check that stuff out because it's awesome. Even that stuff, sometimes I add some salt to it if I feel like I need it. Because tea with a little bit of salt, believe it or not, actually tastes pretty good. A little bit of salt in your coffee actually tastes pretty good. It's weird, but it works, and it's like a little fasting cocktail. So big yes on salt. Go ahead and add it in there, but try to use like a pink Himalayan salt. But as always, make sure you're keeping it locked in here on my channel. Make sure you're abiding by this list, and I will see you in the next video.